Irris Makler is our correspondent in Jerusalem. Let's cross there now. Irris, tell us what you're hearing about what took place overnight. I know we're getting this information in the last 30 minutes or so.
Yes, just to hand from the Israeli military, a written statement saying that didn't give a number of troops that went in, but we understand it was tanks and infantry, and as well air cover was provided by drones and combat helicopters. They went in as far as Shujaiya in Gaza City, that area. Closer to the border with Israel, to the fence line, I guess you'd call it. And the target was Hamas members. They're very concerned about anti-tank missile launching sites, since in an earlier incursion of this type, one soldier was killed and 3 more were wounded. So they are trying to clear those out, they say. But, I guess the question now is this the pattern? Is this what we're going to see? Or is this rehearsal preparation for a larger strike? And that question I think will only be answered when the issue of the hostages will be resolved.
Yeah, I saw the IDF spokesperson using the term softening up the ground ready for a full-scale invasion, which from a humanitarian side there's also been criticism of that term given the situation for many Palestinians at the moment. What's your reading of the situation vis-a-vis 3 weeks on from the attacks? Benjamin Netanyahu saying that there would be not saying when, but will be a full-scale ground offensive. What might be causing the delay and what's going on?
I think it's the hostage issue, which is now, that they now have added that to the priorities of this war. Interestingly, they didn't speak about them. The Israeli leadership didn't speak about the hostages really well into week 2, but we heard from Israel's Prime Minister and we heard from the Defence Minister last night that the hostages are a priority. We've had reports of international negotiations, basically Qatar, a funder, a patron of Hamas, doing these negotiations about the release, a larger scale release. We've seen, drips of 2 and then 2, but this is a negotiation for something larger. We heard from Iran that yesterday that Hamas was prepared to release civilians, and that the world should be prepared for Israel to release something like 6,000 of the Palestinian prisoners it holds in its jails in return. So both the patrons of Hamas are talking about a large-scale civilian release, that is civilian hostages currently held in the Gaza Strip, estimated to be more than 220, including foreign nationals and including, of course, 9 French nationals as well. So that's what we are thinking is ongoing. And we heard from Israel's ambassador to Washington that he said it most directly, that's why I'm quoting him. When asked about a timetable, the Israeli politicians are quiet, more reticent. But he said, we're actually giving these talks an opportunity. It's not an open-ended opportunity to succeed, but it is an opportunity to bring home, at the very least, civilians, although Israel doesn't like to make that distinction. So I think that's what is ongoing. And in fact, other than these limited incursions, and of course the suffering of civilians, I have to say on both sides of the line, although Palestinian civilians very much at the moment in Gaza, the real story is happening off stage. And we don't know actually how advanced these negotiations are and if they will come to some kind of fruition for long enough to actually hold off a ground offensive.
Irris, we'll be talking to you through the day as things continue to develop there. Irris Makler, our correspondent in Jerusalem.